Forró, and thank you all for your attention. We are about to start the session 2. Grab some water, then we begin. A lot for your attention. Nice, man. The authors, if you're already here, please come on the stage. Pavel Hadkovsky is session chair.
Hello, good morning.
Thank you all.
I believe we've got 2 minutes or so, or 1 minute. Here, please come to the stage. We have 2 already here. Otherwise, I'm going to start in 1 minute from the mic here. Everybody to the second Sigma session. The title of the session is Authoring and Reconstruction. My name is Rafael Ratkowski. I'm an assistant professor at Iowa State University, and I act here, or I serve here as the session chair of this session. We have 5 papers in the session, all address authoring, augmented reality or virtual reality scenes, and reconstruction of scenes. I will not take too much of your time and just go ahead and start here with our first presentation. The title of our first presentation is Generating Emotive Gates for Virtual Agents Using Effective-Based Autoregression. The authors of the paper are Uttaran Bhattacharjee, Nick Rikowski, Puya Guhan, Neil Williamson, Trisha Mittal, Aniket Bera, Dinesh Manosa. And the presenter or speaker here is Uttaran Bhattacharjee. Welcome.
Welcome to the iLearn Virtual Campus. Please sign up for a free iLearn membership on our website, check out our 7th annual conference coming next spring 2021, and let us know if you're interested in hosting events or leasing space on our campus by emailing campus@immersivelrn.org.
Hello, everyone. Hi, I am Uttaran, and I will present our work on generating emotive gates for virtual agents using affect-based autoregression. Virtual agents are often used as avatars to represent human users in social AR and VR environments. Apart from looking realistic, we also require virtual agents to express different emotions to increase their sense of social presence. In our work, we focus on designing virtual agents capable of expressing such different emotions through their walking styles or gaits. Studies in psychology and affective computing have shown that human observers often rely on such cues from gaits and other body expressions, especially when there are mismatches with cues from more common modalities such as facial expressions. As a result, it is useful to generate virtual agents with emotive gaits for applications in areas including but not limited to gaming and social VR, crowd simulation, and path planning, anomaly detection, therapy, rehabilitation, and neurobiology. So to summarize our main contributions, we present an autoregression network that takes in 3D poses of a virtual agent's gait, the desired trajectory, and the desired emotion. It outputs the virtual agent's gait expressing the given emotion and following the given trajectory. We formulate a novel training method that combines movement features and psychologically motivated affective features into a unified network. Our network can generate plausible, emotionally expressive gaits for virtual agents at interactive rates. We integrate the virtual agents with these generated gates in an AR environment. We also conduct a web-based user study where observers reported perceived emotions from the generated gates and the perceived values of the affective features. We perform statistical tests on the user study results and observe how the virtual agent's emotional expressiveness adds to their social presence. Finally, we present an augmented dataset called synthesized emotive gait, which provides emotive gaits generated by our method to facilitate more research in this area. Diving deeper into our approach, we leverage two kinds of features to generate plausible and emotionally expressive virtual agents. In order to achieve emotional expressiveness, we encode the intra-frame affective features into our network. Scale independence is an important factor in such affective features, as observers can identify emotions irrespective of the distance of the subject or the subject's physical stature. We use three kinds of scale independent affective features: joint angles, distance ratios between pairs of joints, and triangle area ratios between triplets of joints. We have 11 joint angles, A1 through A11, and mark them with red arcs on the last three figures in the top row here. The leftmost figure on the bottom row shows the distances we use to compute the distance ratios. We use the ratios d1 over d2, d3 over d4, d6 over d5, and d7 over d5. The last three figures in the bottom row show the triangles we use to compute area ratios. We use the ratios t1 over t2, t3 over t4, and t5 over t6. All these affective features are useful indicators of a variety of emotional states. Please refer to section 3 in our paper for more details. In order to make the gates plausibly follow user-driven trajectories, we also encode inter-frame movement features into our network. Our movement features include the root height from the ground, the root speed from between time steps on the ground plane, and the phase of the feet between the points where they touch the ground. We also include features such as root orientation relative to tangent to the trajectory curvature, and the frequency of footsteps. These features are especially useful for the network to predict walking at different speeds and on trajectories with high curvatures. We now present an overview of our sequence prediction network. It consists of two main components, the encoder followed by the predictor. The encoder takes in the joint positions and rotations of the input gates for a fixed number of past time steps and extracts those pose-affective features and root joint features from the input gates. Next, it learns the encoding features to jointly map these extracted features, the corresponding input emotions, and the movement features to latent representations. The predictor learns to compute the inverse mapping from the latent representations to necessary affective and trajectory features, and by extension, the joint positions and rotations in the subsequent time steps. We train our network using a linear combination of five loss terms. The motion loss is the angle difference between the ground truth rotations and the predicted rotations over all the joints and time steps. The pose loss is the Euclidean norm difference between the ground truth and the predicted poses over all time steps. The affective features loss is the Euclidean norm difference between the ground truth and the predicted affective features over all time steps. The movement features is the Euclidean norm difference between the ground truth and the predicted movement features over all time steps. And the foot contact loss is a robust L1 norm loss to constrain the heel and the toe positions of the generated characters to match the ground truth heel and toe positions. This foot contact loss ensures that we do not have any foot sliding. We show four virtual agents expressing the four emotions: happy, sad, angry, and neutral. The virtual agents work on user-driven trajectories marked with a red line. Next, we show the transition of emotions in the gates. In this video, the virtual agent first transitions from angry to sad. We can see the virtual agent slowing down and his shoulders slouching as the emotion transitions to sad. The virtual agent then transitions from sad to neutral, The shoulders become less slouched. Finally, the virtual agent transitions from neutral to happy. It begins to move faster and finally breaks into a jog. We also compare our motion generation with the state-of-the-art network of Pavlov et al. As we can see, their network cannot perform emotional expressiveness. By comparison, our network can generate emotive gates. We also show comparisons with ablated versions of our network. First, we remove only the affective feature encoding and constraints from our network and train the remaining network. As we can see, this network cannot generate different emotional expressions. Next, we remove only the movement feature encoding and constraints from our network and train the remaining network. This network can generate different emotional expressions but is unable to follow user-driven trajectories. We now show some generated emotive gate samples in an AR environment. First, we use stick figures to depict the virtual agents. Stick figures have the advantage of abstracting away the virtual agent's irrelevant features, such as facial expressions, attire, and similar features. This helps an observer to focus entirely on the gates. We show gates in pairs so the observer can more easily understand the differences in expression for the different emotions. For the sake of completeness, we also use human models to depict the virtual agents. We again show the gates in pairs and use a female and a male model in each pair. We also conducted a web-based user study to evaluate the emotional expressiveness and the naturalness of our gates. In the first part, our objective is to test the null hypothesis that the emotion vector used as input to generate each gate and the emotion vector obtained by taking the arithmetic mean of the emotion vectors perceived by all the users from that generated gate are two samples of the same statistical distribution. In other words, the distribution of emotions we intend for a generated gate is statistically similar to the distribution of emotions perceived by the observing users. In the second part, we obtain the values of the pose-affective features observed by the users from the generated gates on a 5-point Likert scale. Here, our objective is to validate our choice of pose-affective features for the virtual agent's emotional expressiveness. We show here the result of two-sample Anderson-Darling tests for 8 randomly chosen gates from our study of the first part. Based on the statistics, we cannot reject the null hypothesis that the intended and perceived emotions of the gates are samples from the same probability distribution for all but one of the gates. We observe such mismatches in less than 12% of the tested gates. For the second part, we show the distribution of user votes for the broad pose-affective features in gates from different emotions. We can observe different distinct modes for the different emotions, indicating that the pose-affective features vary between different emotions and are consistent across users for a given emotion. The horizontal axis values correspond to the Likert scale values listed in the table at the bottom. For the full discussion on our user studies, please refer to section 6 in our paper. So to conclude, we have presented here a novel autoregression method to generate emotive gates moving along user-driven trajectories. Our emotion model is based on a linear combination of 4 widely used categorical emotion terms, and we present a network architecture that uses affective features and movement features. Our algorithm can generate emotive gates at interactive rates and develop a transition scheme to switch between gates with different emotions. We have shown the results on gates collected from open source datasets and discussed our procedure for developing virtual agents with these gates in an AR environment. We have also reported our observations from a web-based user study to conclude that our generated gates look natural as well as had the desired emotional expressiveness. Lastly, we release an augmented dataset of emotive gates. Our current work also has some limitations. We can only generate emotive gates for one person at a time, so it would be useful to study the patterns of group emotions to generate emotive gates for a group of pedestrians in a crowd. Our formulation also considers a linear space of 4 emotions. We plan to extend our emotion representation to encompass more emotions in the arousal space as the broader BAD space of emotions. Finally, we only use low-level affective and movement features to generate emotive gates. It would be useful to incorporate higher-level information corresponding to the environment and context into our generation model. And this is the end of our presentation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your presentation. Please everybody press F4 to clap your hands. Okay, we have, I think, 3 minutes for questions. Are there any questions from the audience? It doesn't look like it's right now. Yeah. No. Okay, let me ask a question. So when I saw your gates, what range of gates can you actually generate or synthesize here? So when I saw those gates in your videos, it looks like you exaggerate a lot. You have a very sad person, you have a very happy person. Is there also a range in between those two?
Right. So the range is basically based on the arousal of those gates or arousal of those emotions, to be more specific. So, like you mentioned, so if it's a sad gate, then it's one end of the spectrum. Whereas if it's very angry or very excited, then it's another end of the spectrum. So it can either be a very slow kind of walk with very small little movements or very small range of movements, or a very exaggerated, excited or angry walk. So I guess that is one range of movements. So we actually the range is dependent on the values of affective features that we are using. So affective features are like arm swings or leg strides. So yeah, higher those values, then higher is the resultant gait. Uh, yeah.
Okay. But you can basically simulate, you want to say you can simulate the range between those two end states, and or is it just discrete, so very happy, very sad, one in between, two in between, or is it whatever you have? Can you
Right.
balance
Yeah.
this?
Yeah, exactly. So we are using like a linear space, like a linear combination of the different emotion terms. So happy, sad, angry, and neutral, they have some like as points in a 3D space. So we actually moved away from the categorical emotion terms like happy, sad, angry, and neutral to the more VAD kind of representation. So it's like a combination of different emotions. So I can say I can actually decide what percentage of happy combined with uh, let's say let's say happy and neutral gives me is somewhat happy, lesser happy, whereas happy plus more happy, so it gives me very happy. So that gives me the range of affective features and as well as the range of gains.
Okay, good. We have one question from the audience here. I think we've got a minute. Would adding loss for total loss avoid the dominance of specific loss in your network? Mark.
I'm sorry, what is the contribution of the put class?
It's the sentence here, or would adding loss for total loss avoid the dominance of specific loss in your network? Question mark. Yeah. Maybe the person who asked the question can elaborate on that.
Yeah, hi. This was me, Vinu. So my question
Hi.
was that in your network, when you look at the total loss, you'll be using addition where you add specific losses of Euclidean distances and L1 distances. So
Right.
would that be that there would be some specific losses which are actually dominating, and are you why not considering a weighted approach, or what is the motivation behind that?
Right. Yeah. So we did consider a weighted loss terms. So the initial loss terms like angle loss and pose loss, they have somewhat equal contributions. We did consider like different weights for them. We tried increasing the weights for pose loss or otherwise increasing the weight for foot contact loss. It did not make too much difference in our case, but we can use weights between like 0.5 and 2 for most of them. So like using one actually worked out well for our case, so we just reported like a standard summation. But we definitely like using weights if you want to focus on a particular aspect of the generation, you can definitely add weights to highlight that even more. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. We're out of time here, so let's sing our outro again. Please press F4 to clap your hands. And yeah, thank you for your presentation. If you have any other questions, I'm sure you are around and you can ask also. Okay, before we continue, are the other authors of the other papers in this room here? If so, Hanping Yang, Deng Shanghai, and Wen Xin, please come to the main stage. Have a seat here. Okay, let's continue. Our next presentation is titled, sorry. In-paint fusion, incremental RGBD in painting for 3D scenes. The authors of the paper are Sohai Mori, Okan Erat, Wolfgang Grohl, Hideo Saito, Dietmar Smallspeak, and Dennis Falco. And the presenter is Sohai Mori. And Sohai, please come straight to the front here and give your talk.
Hello everyone, I'm Shohei Mori at Graz University of Technology. Today I'm going to talk about Implant Fusion incremental RGBT implanting for 3D scenes. Implant Fusion approach is categorized into diminished reality, which is the conceptual opposite to augmented reality. This means that we remove things from the real environment instead of adding something to the environment. Given an input frame and vision of interest, the system outputs a frame without the object. There are various approaches to achieve this, but the general goal of diminished reality is to find the optimal transformation map F. Here's an image with a target region to be removed. Then F defines to where pixels needs to be referred in a source field area or otherwise a dataset. Therefore, rather scanning the entire image over F results in an image without the object in the target region. Previous diminished reality methods mainly differ in how the function F is defined and which sources are considered. View or video approaches assume that all cameras are registered in the space so that behind the object of interest can be observed from other cameras or other frames. Therefore, F is usually defined under the equal constraint. However, such systems require a multi-camera system or otherwise search pixels in future frames, which is impossible in real-time applications like augmented reality. Since they cannot reconstruct occluded areas without observing the areas, such unobservable areas result in black pixels. In contrast, imaging painting approaches use pixels in a frame so that the system doesn't have to observe the real background. Especially in painting designed for augmented reality, first optimizes F and utilizes the implanted keyframe in the tracked frame to keep the frame coherence. The state-of-the-art methods listed here use homography mapping to relate a keyframe to the current frame. That is, they assume that the scene geometry is sufficiently approximated by a plane or multiple planes. While this notion makes it easier to obtain real-time performance, it cannot recover depth information in the target region. We present Implant Fusion, a new real-time method that extends implanting to non-planar scenes by considering both color and depth information in the implanting process. To this end, we combine a circle-based dense SLAM system with multi-keyframe implanting to fully implant target areas over frames. We demonstrate how a globally consistent geometric model enables augmented reality rendering effects such as relighting. This video shows the impact of our approach. Implant Fusion impaints the color and the depth values of the toy horse. This enables us to add the virtual color illuminating the implanted region by the headlight, together with the white balls bouncing seamlessly in the real and implanted regions. Notice that in the real camera feed, there is still the toy horse. Our system starts from scanning the scene using RGB inputs. Since we have access to a dense map, our method can directly label the map by projecting the user's 2D strokes onto the scene geometry. We assign label information to each circle to distinguish the region of interest and the other regions. Given that label information, our system impaints a keyframe both in color and depth basis through several steps. First, we generate a normal map from a depth map to mitigate perspective and view-dependent nature of a depth map when impainting. We find an optimal F by minimizing this function, meaning that we impaint both color and normal maps by finding pixels which minimizes differences in the appearance in the color space and in the normal space, and tries to find it as larger clusters as possible. We solve this function using the touch match algorithm. Finally, we sample depth gradients from the source region referring to the optimized F and solve a Poisson solver to obtain the final depth. During sampling the depth gradients, Some adjacent pixels in the target region may refer to pixels which are far from each other. For these samples, we take the mean bidirectional depth gradient samples to make the gradients consistent in the target region. For stable in-painting over frames, we utilize multiple keyframes. Our goal is to fill in all missing pixels in every nodal viewpoint. Therefore, our system inserts a new keyframe when the pose diverges too much from the closest keyframe. When the new keyframe is inserted, we must ensure that in-painting at the keyframe is consistent among the previous keyframes. Conventional approaches use homography wrapping for this, while we replace this process with 3D transformations via the circle map. Note that we assign new label for the in-painted region so that the SLAM tracking sees only non-in-painted circles for stable tracking. We measured our system runtime performance and conducted a user study for quality assessment. We implemented our system in 2 threads, one performing keyframe in-painting and another one for the rest of the processing. The main thread mainly runs dense-SLAM and therefore requires GPU, while in-painting runs in background in the other thread using only a CPU. Overall, in-paint fusion operates at over 30 Hz. The background keyframe in-painting process takes approximately 4.4 seconds. However, one may prioritize the speed over the quality of in-painting by simply reducing the number of raster scans in the optimization. We tested our method in these 9 scenes, but we picked up 3 of them to show the results in detail. In this scene, the handkerchief is removed and replaced with the in-painted colors and geometries. You can see that our method can keep the temporal and spatial coherency over the frames. Here, the red leaves is replaced with the synthesized green leaves. And here, the cracks on the blocks are fixed by our in-painting method. As you might notice, we can apply our method for fixing incomplete 3D reconstruction. These pictures show original and in-painted fusion results in the 3 scenes. The results show that our methods can fuse real depth with generated fake depths into one consistent global map. We designed the repeated measures within subject study to compare in-painting quality of different in-painting methods using a single plane geometry proxy and multi-plane geometry proxy and our image fusion. We collected ratings for image and video results SI and SV respectively. To analyze how different geometry proxies impact in-painting results under camera motions, we also calculate the differences SV minus SI scores. The results show clearly that in-paint fusion outperforms the other methods. While in-paint fusion generalizes the in-painting-based image reality methods, some points need to be addressed to further improve the quality. The transformation map we optimize is described in integer space, which can introduce aliasing when propagating information from previous keyframes. We in-paint the entire region of interest at the first keyframe. Therefore, in case occluded areas are observed after starting the in-painting, real and in-painted depths may disagree. Finally, we in-paint keyframes one by one, but one may in-paint all the keyframes at once for more consistent results over keyframes. In conclusion, we presented in-paint fusion, a novel approach to 3D in-painting for augmented reality. In-paint fusion outperforms the existing approaches in terms of temporal and spatial coherency over the in-painted frames. We demonstrated AR rendering effects after in-painting, such as relighting and physics animations, and our method is capable of patching for incomplete 3D reconstruction. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you for your presentation. Please everybody join me and press F4. Okay, are there any questions from the audience? Any questions so far? I see some. Nope, no questions so far. Here, let me ask one question. Did you try your application or did you try the method with different material albedos, so different reflection properties on, for instance, metal, shiny objects, and those things, or was everything locked to some sort of diffuse?
Yes, basically we've tested in the diffuse color scenes because the in-painting works better in those areas. And in case actually some of the surfaces in the result has some specular reflections. For example, we showed some boxes in the result, and then in that case we have some certain reflections. But I think our method works fairly well because we have multiple keyframes in painted keyframes, so that, and we are projecting all the keyframes depending on the viewpoint, which is basically the view dependent texture mapping. And so that by using this technology, we can reproduce the reflections.
Yeah, and you mentioned also that it wasn't completely clear to me. You mentioned you need to make sure that your treatments are consistent over time, but I did not really understand how you do this completely. Can you elaborate on that?
Oh, sorry, I think I didn't get that, or the voice is kind of difficult to hear.
Hey, you mentioned in your presentation very briefly that you have to keep your keyframes consistent, but you don't actually, the keyframe map is consistent, and I think you used maybe the feature of points for this in your object, but it wasn't completely clear how you keep them consistent and how you prevent them from drifting.
So your question is how can we keep consistency between the keyframes?
Yeah.
Okay, so we are basically using geometry information fetched from the SLAM system. So we assume that we have a dense reconstruction of the scene, so that we basically know which pixel corresponds to which 3D point, and this can be projected to the other keyframes, so that we know which pixel sources we need to use at the beginning of the new in-painting in a new keyframe, so that then this makes things consistent because the geometry relations are kept consistent basically. And then so we can start with these initial pixel values or the position relations in the image maps, so that we can optimize it not from scratch, but from these initial guesses. That keeps the consistency between the keyframes.
Yeah, I think I have an idea, but we may discuss this later. So you don't experience this SLAM drift over time in the scene, or maybe you've seen it just before for that, but it's right now not really. Let's discuss it later. There's a few more questions about that. Any other questions? Okay, then let's thank our author again, and thank you for your presentation. Okay, let's move on to our next presentation. Is one of the authors of the next paper of application field of the paper Mobile 3D Recon Real-Time Molecular 3D Reconstruction on a Mobile Phone. It's one of the authors here in the room, Lin Yang, Yang Zhu, Hanqing Yang, Dong Yang Tang, Yuan Bo Wang, Hu Yung Bao, or Hu Feng. Yeah.
I'd like to present our ISPAS 2020 work titled Mobile 3D Recon, Real-Time Monocular 3D Recon on a Mobile Phone. As we know, real-time dense surface scene reconstruction is a key to a full 3D perception of an environment. and is required by realistic AR application for effects such as occlusion, collision, and shadow mapping. However, it is not an easy task to perform real-time dense surface mesh generation on middle-range mobile platforms. Let's take a look at the current real-time dense reconstruction system. Most systems work with an RGBD camera as input. Typical works include Connect Fusion, Infinite Time, Electric Fusion, Bundle Fusion, etc. Some recent systems work with a monocular camera with the depth map estimated by multiview stereo. Monofusion, mobile fusion, chisel are the typical work of this type. However, most of these works are limited in reconstruction scale due to huge memory complexity. Besides, although TSDF and circles can be fused online, surface mesh generation is done as an offline post-process in these systems. Moreover, most systems are more suitable for PC and high-end mobile devices due to time complexity. We propose our novel surface mesh reconstruction system, which we named Mobile 3D Recon. Our system is a keyframe-based real-time surface mesh generation approach, which is suitable for middle-range mobile phones with a monocular camera we usually have in our pocket. To achieve real-time surface mesh generation on mobile phones, we propose a multi-view keyframe depth estimation method and an efficient incremental mesh generation approach. Through the combination of the two methods, we can reach a centimeter-level dense surface reconstruction in real time on middle-range mobile platform with only a monocular camera. Here's the system overview of our pipeline. Desktop poses are checked with a keyframe-based virtual inertial SLAM system, which maintains a keyframe pool on the back end with a global BA for keyframe pose refinement as feedback to the front end. After the 6-stop tracking is initialized normally on the front end, the latest incoming keyframe with its globally optimized pose, its dense depth map is online estimated by Module's SGM, with a part of previous keyframe selected as reference frames. A convolutional neural network follows through to refine the depth noise. The refined keyframe depth map is then fused to generate dense surface mesh. Our pipeline performs an incremental online mesh generation. High-level AR applications can utilize this real-time dense mesh to achieve realistic AR effects on the front end. We estimate depth map using an SGM-based module stereo approach, which is carried out in a uniformly sampled inverse depth space. Patch similarity is computed with a variant of the sensor transform as a feature descriptor. We use weighted sensor transform to compute patch similarity cost, with scores of neighboring frames as weight. The cost aggregation among multiple keyframes can be accelerated by NEO, with winner-take-all strategy to get the initial depth map. The initial depth map is then refined and sub-level by parabola fitting. Our multi-view SGM is more robust than general two-view SGM, since depth noise caused by camera pose errors or attentionless regions can be suppressed by multiple keyframes. We can see in the figure that even if the camera pose has visible bipolar errors, our multi-view method can still get satisfactory results. There are unreliable depths in the initial depth map we have to filter out. Glorious work proposed an uncertainty measurement for SGM. We extend its method by calculating confidence as a weighted uncertainty in local window. The weight measures the neighboring depth level differences. With the improved confidence map, we can have a better depth filtering result. After the depth filtering, we employ a deep neural network to refine the remaining depth noise. The network is a two-stage refinement structure. The first stage is an image-guided subnetwork which combines filtered depth with a corresponding grid image to reason across refinement result. Its loss function contains an edge maintenance loss, a photometric depth loss, and a high-level perceptual loss. The second stage is a residual UNet, which further refines the previous course result to get the final refined depth. The depth refinement network is trained using demo dataset. The training pair consists of an initially filtered depth map generated by our method, reassembled with ground truth on top. Atom policy is finally adopted for optimization. We can see from the figure that the depth map refined above simultaneously to generate long-line surface mesh. We present a novel incremental mesh generation approach which can update surface mesh in real time and is more suitable for AI applications on mobile platforms with limited computing resource. We achieve a scalable voxel fusion using a novel scalable hashing function to ensure that unique identifiers are generated for two arbitrary different points without conflict, which ensures a more efficient way of voxel hashing than conventional hashing schemes. For TSDF voxel integration, each estimated depth is back projected into a 3D cube with associated voxels generated or updated in the conventional way. A cube list maintains all the generated cubes. However, dynamic objects such as a working practice chain or moving object do not follow multi-view geometry per request in temporal times and will generate noisy TSDF voxels which influence the final mesh generation. To handle the influence of dynamic objects, we project existing voxels to the current frames for depth availability checking. If there's a depth conflict case, TSDF value is corrected in the same way. With this strategy, the reconstructed foreground will gradually be removed and the background structure will come out soon. Most AI applications require real-time mesh generation which supports incremental updating, especially on mobile phones. We propose an incremental mesh updating strategy, which is particularly suitable for real-time performance on mobile devices with a single CPU thread. Our scheme is an incremental matching cube algorithm, which updates only part of the cubes for each frame. We maintain a status variable for each voxel, indicating whether it is newly added or updated or not. For each keyframe, we only need to extract or update mesh triangles from the newly added or updated ones. Here are the surface mesh generation results of our experimental sequences. All these sequences are captured and processed in real time with Oppo R7 Pro, which demonstrates the robustness of our real-time reconstruction for large-scale and textureless scenes. We also compare the results with and without DNN-based depth refinement. Our DNN-based depth refinement not only reduces depth noise, but can also eliminate the noisy depth triangles to improve the final surface mesh quality. With our mobile 3D Recon system implemented in C++ and integrated on Unity platform, we can reconstruct real-time dense surface mesh and achieve realistic AI effects such as occlusions and collisions on various scenes with different geometrical structures on Oppo R7 Pro and Mi 8. Here's one of the experimental scenes. We also qualitatively compare our molecular depth estimation approach to other state-of-the-art algorithms on the generated depth maps and surface maps of the 5 seconds captured by Oppo R7 Pro. Our depth estimation performs better than other methods in depth measurements with more accurate details, and the final generated surface structure with less noisy triangles. We can also see from the quantitative evaluation of depth and mesh accuracy in the table that our mobile 3D Recon system reconstructs the scenes with a centimeter level accuracy on the depth and surface meshes, which are competitive to other methods. We also give the time statistics of our method in the stage of a monocular depth estimation and incremental meshing separately on 2 middle-range mobile platforms, Oppo R7 Pro and Mi 8. Our mobile 3D Recon can run fast enough to keep up with the keyframe frequency in real time on both platforms. Thank you.
Hey, thank you for your presentation. Please join me and good to see you also here. Okay, are there any questions from the audience? No questions so far? Hey, Grouping, I have one question. It looks like the entire system is, I will not say quite complicated, but we have multiple steps involved. What would you say? What was the hardest part to get it into a mobile phone, or what of those is most challenging one?
I beg your pardon, I cannot hear you very clearly.
Okay, sorry for that. I will try. I'm not sure what it is. It looks like your entire approach is some sort of a multi-step approach, so you have multiple steps. Which of those was the hardest to get onto a mobile platform? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a it uses a conventional semi-global matching combined with a neural network for depth refinement. Yeah.
Yeah. But which of those which was the most challenging one for mobile platform? Do you have any idea about that?
Yeah, it's challenging to do 3D reconstruction on mobile phone, but we are struggling to do everything to speed up the whole process. For example, we use the conventional traditional multi-view stereo methods combined with a neural network approach to make it in an efficient way and perform with more generalization. And we try to use incremental meshing to make it real time on the mobile platform with limited resources. Also, we use some kind of techniques such as scalable voxel hashing to avoid conflict. That's also for the purpose of speed up the whole process. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And still, one more question. You mentioned you have a CNN to reduce noise, but I did not really get how do you train the CNN or where did you get the data from? It looked like it was a supervised network. Supervised?
Sorry, I cannot hear you very clearly.
Sorry about that. But the question was, how did you actually train your network for noise reduction?
Our method is general for different devices, mobile devices. Also, we depend on any kind of keyframe-based SLAM systems. Yeah, we can also work with AR core. We have tried that. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. I believe we're out of time. There's one very short question from the audience. Is the code available?
I really cannot hear you very clearly.
There's one last question from the audience, and the person asked if the code is available.
The code is not available now, but we hope it can be available in future because we should do some improvement on it. Oh. Thank you.
Thank you, and yeah, let's thank also again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, the next presentation is the title of the next presentation is Game-Aware Insertion of Virtual Objects in Molecular Videos. And I believe the speaker, the authors of the paper, Songhai Zhang, Xingli Li, Yingxiang Liu, Hongbo Fu, and I believe the speaker is of course, available via video, so we have to pre-record it, but it's also available for questions, but not via, I think it's available via video. So let's just start the presentation.
Hello everyone, I'm Feng Haizhang. It's my pleasure to present a paper titled with Scale-Wired Insertion of Virtual Objects in Monocular Videos. The authors are Feng Haizhang, Xiangli Li, Yingtian Liu from Tsinghua University, and Professor Hongbong Hu from the City University of Hong Kong. First is a brief introduction. Object insertion in virtual scenes is a classic and important research problem in VR and computer graphics. It could be applied to many applications such as advertisement and interior design. Suppose there are a large repository of objects from advertisers and a large video content repository from content creator and platforms. This would bring both sides new opportunities by monetizing their content success with automatic inserting virtual objects in those videos. To achieve this goal, many works have been taken from different aspects, including geometry recovery, illumination recovery, and semantic consistency. However, automatic sizing of objects has not been fully considered. Sizing is non-trivial for automatic insertion, almost all videos are captured by monocular cameras, and often without regarding camera parameters. This raises a well-known problem, scale ambiguity. That is, actual symmetries cannot be recovered from monocular videos. To recover the actual size of scene, at least one related piece of knowledge needs to be introduced. Some methods combine sensors such as MU and LiDAR, or incorporate camera setup information such as camera height into SLAMs to estimate the unknown scaling factor. In autonomous driving area, a large number of visual odometry systems incorporate semantic information by object tracking and instance segmentation to address scale drift, and could derive 3D bounding box from an image by learning the shape and scale information of 3 object categories, including car, pedestrian, and cyclist in actual size from point cloud. Suka presented a pioneer work on scale estimation from monocular videos. They use ULV2 to detect some specific objects and use their heights to optimize global scale with indicated height distribution. We observed that the perception of an actual size of scene in the image mainly depends on the knowledge of sizes of objects in the scene. There are certain regular sizes of many objects in human and natural environments, such as the fixed size of A4 papers, limited sizes choices of desks, and so on. Such sizes following the customs of human and size distribution statistics of natural objects bring the background knowledge of size perception and thus make it possible to automatically estimate actual sizes of things in monocular videos. Here is our pipeline. We built a large-scale dataset of sizes of object categories called metric tree and proposed a novel scale estimation method in virtual object insertion framework from monocular videos. To introduce the object size prior, we released metric tree, a new dataset about object size category collected from the web. It contains about 900 object categories and different instances of each category with their images and 3-dimensional sizes. In the insertion framework, the geometry of the scene is recovered into dense point cloud by structural motion. Then we perform instance segmentation on each frame and merge all the recognition results into 3D instances of point cloud. how to compute the orientation of the object to get the bounding box to represent its dimension. We assume that the camera is almost horizontal, which means that the roll of the camera is 0 during the capture, and the object is placed on a flat horizontal surface. So we can get the upright direction of the scene by minimizing the sum of the dots of normal and axis of a camera for all frames. Fixing the upright direction, the problem is reduced to a 2D point cloud dimension calculation, which can be solved by minimal bounding box method. We have found that a dimension extraction of objects is susceptible to the result of reconstruction and segmentation, with the corresponding dimension of object being inaccurate when the local point cloud is relatively sparse and incorrectly segmentation occurs. Therefore, we introduce a dimension reliability measurement to provide guidance for subsequent scale optimization. A reliable reconstructed point cloud should have a similar density in all regions, so we estimate the reliability of dimension computation based on this observation. For each object, we divide the object bounding box into 8 by 8 by 8 blocks. Then we calculate the global point density, which is the average number of points in each block. And we similarly define the density of point cloud on both sides of the length direction as written. In this way, we can determine the reliability of the beginning and the end of the object in that direction, and calculate the reliable factor as the geometric average of them over the global density. The unreliable dimensions won't be taken into consideration in the following optimization. Marked red as shown in figure, the threshold is 0.7. Under such measurement, we found that the inclined objects can also be handled relatively well. When the object is tilted, the reliability corresponding to the two changing dimensions also decrease greatly as the angle of tilt increases. This allows us to exclude those dimensions of tilt object based on the reliability. After extracting the dimension of all instances, we get constraints on the scale in this scene, which means that there exists a fixed ratio among the object sizes in the scene. The target of the following optimization stage is to get the most reasonable scale factor to maximizing the probability of all objects appear in this scale factor. For metric tree, we are able to extract approximate descriptions of the probability density of objects of different sizes, represented by Gaussian mixture model. The four images illustrate the size distribution of objects in 4 different categories. There is a scale factor ratio S between the size and actual objects and the size we extracted from the point cloud. In the scale optimization stage, we maximize the probability of all objects appearing with their sizes. With the selected scaling factor, we can insert virtual objects with reasonable sizes. In the section experiments, we conduct a quantitative experiment to verify the performance of the proposed method on scale estimation. We evaluate the result by comparing the estimated height of objects with the ground truth. In practice, our method has lower error and higher stability both in outdoor and indoor scenes. We visualize some result of scale estimation here and marked estimated length and the ground truth of the dimension in the scene. These are about indoor scenes and outdoor scenes. And we also synthesize some videos with virtual objects inserted into the scenes. Here is some examples. And here is the result for indoor scenes. And here is the video showing the result of some edited with our method. Okay, so this is the conclusion. With the aid of optic size distribution in metric tree, we are able to make relatively accurate scale estimates of the scenes in monocular videos without other size inputs, resulting in the scale-aware of the surface. To further improve the performance, some aspects could be considered, including denser and faster reconstruction of scenes, a finer classification with more accurate size distribution, and a more accurate and fine-grained instance segmentation. Okay, thank you for your attention.
Thank you for your presentation. Okay, and I believe you are here, Songhai. Okay, are there any questions from the audience? Anything so far? Okay, Songhai, I have one question. Thank you for the presentation. It's looks really great. Oh, okay, 1 second. I believe I got the question. Let me ask my question first. So when I understand you correctly, the entire size system relies on a matrix tree with 900 categories. And then when I understand you correctly, to deal with different scales, so with a toy car and with a real car, you basically have somewhere a scale factor in your system. Correct me if I'm correct, or I misunderstood you. But my question is, how do you deal actually with objects that may not have a uniform scale? So for instance, a table can has a common table has a common height, but you can have long tables and short tables and so on. And how would you actually cover those?
Very good questions, and we have an assumption. We have assumption that there's several objects in maybe in this room, and maybe some objects is normal, and some is not ordinary. It's not in an ordinary shape, but in total, I mean, maybe most of them in ordinary shape. So we can optimize the scaling factors of these scenes. So I mean, if there is some table is maybe a longer or shorter, it's not matter, and maybe other objects can derive the correct scaling factors because we are using optimization. We extract several objects from the scenes, and from them we extract several reliable dimensions from them. So in our experiments, you can see if reliable dimensions, if the number of the reliable dimensions is larger than 10, yeah, the result will be I think it's good.
Okay, and thank you. There's a follow-up question from somebody from the audience. What if there's a scene with a toy car on an office table? So, but I think you answered the question somehow already. Okay. I think there's another question because we're running almost out of time here. Does it run in real time on an average phone?
Yeah.
Okay. So, but I'm.
So no more questions?
Yeah. No. Did you hear the question, or does it run in real time on an average phone? Okay, I'm not sure if I can hear you. I believe you can also see the questions in Bova and maybe just pick them up on the platform and answer them online. Because I think we also have here to move on to our next presentation. So let's thank our author again. Clapping here. Feel free to dance or cheer. Okay. Okay, yeah, thank you, Songhai, again for your presentation. And yeah, please see the questions on BOPA and try to follow up on with our attendees. Okay, well, let us move on to our next presentation, which is the last one here. Is the author or one of the authors or the speaker of the next presentation available here? Xin Wen. Don't see him. If you're available, please enter the main stage. So the part of our next presentation is photorealistic audio-driven video portraits. The authors of this paper are Xin Wen, Mia Wong, Christian Ricard, Zeyin Cheng, and Chi Men Fu. And yeah, Xin Wen is a presenter. Let's see if somebody will show up in a few seconds here on the main stage, but I think we should just go ahead and start the presentation. Ah, there he is. Great. Welcome.
Hi everyone, I'm very glad to represent our work, Photorealistic Audio-Driven Video Portraits. This is a cooperation work with Beihang University, Bath University, and Tsinghua University. First, I will introduce some background and related works. Virtual avatar is an important research topic in computer graphics. It is the study of modeling, rendering, and animation of human portraits. They have huge applications in daily communications and entertainment, especially films, video games, and virtual reality. Among all these applications, audio-driven avatar is useful in the scenarios like video conferencing, personal digital assistant, training and education in virtual environments. In the scenario of video conferencing, transmitting only audio signal can largely reduce the bandwidth requirement because audio signal is more compact than video signal. And here is the question, can we use speech audio to drive a high-fidelity virtual avatar for these applications? And the answer is yes. In this paper, we present a novel method to synthesize photorealistic video portraits driven with speech audio. This is the whole pipeline of our methods, and we will explain each component with following slides. First of all, given a source video of an actor, we need to do monocular 3D face reconstruction for every frame and extract geometry, expression, orbital, head pose, and illumination information to register a parametric face model. This is the base of our whole pipeline. 3D morphable model is adopted to represent geometry of the face. Head pose consists of 3D rotation and translation. Illumination is approximated by spherical harmonics under assumption of distant light and Lambertian surface. There are totally 257 unknowns. We use an analyze by synthesis paradigm to minimize the discrepancy between estimation and ground truth. There are three terms in the objective function: photometric loss, landmark loss, and parameter regularization, respectively. Here is the reconstruction result.
Earth revolves around the Sun in 365.26 days, period known as an Earth year. During this time, Earth rotates about its axis about 366.26 times.
Given an unseen speech audio, we need to transform it to expression information. We first extract high-level feature using an off-the-shelf network. Then we learn mapping from this feature to expression parameter of 3D morphable model, which we just obtained by reconstruction. This is the structure of audio to expression module. The training data comes from reconstruction we have already done. Input audio features are stacked along the timeline within a sliding window. 3 layers of 1D convolution is adopted to integrate space-time information. Use the predict expression to substitute expression parameter of every frame in source video and re-render the new sequence. Here is the result.
We present a novel method to synthesize photorealistic video portrait for an input portrait video automatically driven by speech audio. A 3-minute video of the target is sufficient for training our method, much less data than existing methods require. Our method can generate video portraits for multiple target actors. Thank you very much.
As you may notice that reenacted video is a lack of photorealism because we assume the face is fully inversion, while the skin is actually translucent material. Here we use a neural renderer to make the result more plausible. A generative adversarial network is adopted to translate synthesized frame to photorealistic one. The output of the neural renderer is composited with source video. We build training pair using a lower face mask for both input and output. The mask is also used to paste the result back to the source video. We use a unit-based generator G and a discriminator D that are optimized alternatively in an adversarial manner. The input of the generator G is a stack tensor in the aforementioned sliding window manner as well to maintain temporal coherency. The optimal network parameters of the generator G can be attained by solving about objective function. The full training objective consists of photometric reconstruction loss and adversarial loss. Here we show some results. The first one is self-reenactment with ground truth head pose. We use the actor's own voice to drive herself.
What can we do? Because being in a prolonged state of threat can cause us to make bad decisions, start fights, and further isolate or go into a state of freeze. Well, don't worry, we've got some helpful tips for you.
To show the robustness of our method, we also carry out experiments using a child as the actor. And here is the result.
Staring man with one leg, and let him know the moment he appeared. Often enough, when the first of the month came round and I applied to him for my wage, he would only blow through his nose.
And this one used synthetic audio as the input. We use Google's text-to-speech service to generate speech audio.
Youth is not a time of life. It is a state of mind. It is not a matter of rosy cheeks, red lips, and supple knees. It is a matter of the will, a quality of the imagination, a vigor of the emotions. It is the freshness of the deep springs of life.
We compare our method to several prior 2D-based methods using their open source implementations, and here is the result.
What can we do? Because being in a prolonged state of threat can cause us to make bad decisions, start fights, and further isolate or go into a state of freeze. Well, don't worry, we've got some helpful tips for you.
We also compared with state-of-the-art 3D-based method, audio to Obama. It shows that our method gets comparable results with much less data.
To help families refinance their homes, to invest in things like high-tech manufacturing, clean energy, and the infrastructure that creates good new jobs.
To prove the photorealism quantitatively, we calculate SSIM score between generated result and ground truth of several 2D-based methods and our method. As shown in this figure, our method outperformed prior works. We performed an extensive web-based user study to evaluate our results. We recruit 72 anonymous participants. Each participant need to watch 34 video clips of different methods. They need to rate the quality of the video with 5-point Likert scales. It shows that our method outperforms all prior work except for audio to Obama, a specifically tailored method that only works with extensive, consistent audio and video taken from the same actor. We hope our work can benefit applications in virtual reality. For details, please refer to our paper, and there are many interesting future works, such as higher resolution and less data requirement. Adding natural headphones is important to enhance fidelity and the user experience, which we do not count in this paper. More robust audio-to-expression module is needed to make the system more useful. Deploying on mobile device could make it more practical. The project is supported by several founders, including National Natural Science Foundation of China, and all source code is linked on GitHub. Feel free to create issues to improve the code. Thanks.
Thank you for the presentation. Let's thank our author. Then you please come onto the stage. I see you sitting again in the come up. Okay. Great. Are there any questions from the audience? Okay. Now it's. I have one question. So for your user study, I don't really know the other videos and how it looks like, but I was just wondering how close to the real lip movement needs a video or needs a reconstruction be. So what I had in mind is basically movies. Movies, they get recorded and narrated in one language, and then they get translated in all the other languages. And usually when you watch the movie in a different language, you actually don't really notice. Or maybe you notice when you pay attention, but you don't actually really notice that it was recorded in a different language, and now you hear it in a narrated in another language. So how exact does the entire simulation need to be so that people actually would not recognize this as a synthetic image? Do you have any idea about that?
Sorry, I can catch you. You mean the language we're using in the user study?
No, how that's another thing, but how accurate do you actually need to be? Do you have any idea about what is required so that the human user would not recognize this as a synthetic lip movement? Or is there any limit, or can you be as good as a human? Do you need to be as good as a human for your training network, or what is basically your base accuracy that you want to achieve?
Sorry, I still can't get the question.
Hey, do you have any idea how good you have to train your network? So what level of accuracy do you have to achieve at one point? Or what level of accuracy do you want to achieve? Do you want to be as good as humans, or?
I think we need more data to make it more robust.
Okay. So another question. Did you try to learn, that's a question from the audience, did you try to learn neural network to interscale information directly from the image? Do you hear me? There's one sentence from the audience or a question from the audience. Did you try to learn a neural network to interscale information directly from the image?
No, our method need an input of video.
Oh, sorry, that was it looks like I got here messed up. It was maybe a question from the last picture, from the last. Oh, yeah. Sorry, that was my fault. was just in the chat. It was from the last paper. Okay, but so maybe clear the chat at one point. But let me go back to my question. Maybe do you? So if you train for accuracy, or do you have any some sort of limit or base accuracy, or sorry, a base precision that you want to train?
You mean the accuracy of what?
No, when you train a neural network right now, I know you train from data, but do you have some sort of a maximum accuracy that you have in mind where you need to go so that you actually can completely, take human movement while doing speech? Is there some sort of something like that? It's not a technical question, it's more a requirements question. If for instance, if you train a self-driving car, you want to be better as a human driver.
You mean a human driver?
It's just an example to explain my question.
Yeah, we didn't try a real human's voice. We only tried synthetic one and his own voice.
Okay.
And if you use another one's voice, the result is not very good because the method is not robust enough.
Okay. Hey, are there any other questions from the audience? We may just discuss my question a little bit later because I just want to discuss this later. I hope it's fine for you. Okay, I think we're also out of time. Thank you again for your presentation. Okay, please join me in thanking our authors. Okay, this concludes our session. And we have all 5 talks. Let's thank all our authors again for their presentations here. And that's it. I think our next session is a social session, and the other session, perception, starts in 5 hours. But I think Francesco also wants to make some additional announcements here. Thank you again for attending.
Perfect, Rafael. Thanks a lot for this great question, this great session. It's really nice to see these high quality papers at ISMER. So thanks a lot. This ends up our morning in Brazil. I hope you had enjoyed. I have some announcements and some tips. So I think the most important one is for authors and session shares for this afternoon. So in 5 hours, as Rafael just mentioned, 4 o'clock here in Brazil. So it's important if you didn't train yet, or if you didn't try out the Verbella, that you arrive 1 hour early so you can test the tool, you can see if everything is fine, correct your microphone and these things. I'm going to be here on the main stage at 3 o'clock, so in 4 hours from now, so we can try out. So the session shares and the authors, please come by 1 hour before 4. So at 3 here in Brazil, so we can see if everything goes okay, if everyone is here, so we can move forward. This afternoon we have 3 sessions, so we are going to be able to watch these papers. Also, we have 1 cultural attraction. So the second part of the show, of the concert of Maestro Forró, is also going to be in the afternoon. So I hope to see you all here. Thanks a lot. Enjoy, get connections. Please go around in the campus, cuss a lot, and enjoy your day. See you later.